channel. If you're new around here, my name is Hannah. If you're not new, welcome back. A little spiel about me, because if you're just stumbling across this video, then you probably haven't watched the vlogs or anything like that yet. But I live in Jersey City, which is right outside of New York City. I'm 26. I work full-time, YouTube and social media part-time. What else can I say? I just graduated from grad school in January. I walked across the stage literally like 3 weeks ago, so I feel like I just graduated 3 weeks ago, even though it's been a few months now. So I have my MBA from the College of William & Mary. I graduated from Syracuse University in 2019. Lived in New York City for the past 2.5, almost 3 years, and I think that's about it. You're caught up in the most chaotic way possible. But as you could tell by the title of today's video, I'm going to be sharing what I spend in a week as a 26-year-old living in the New York City area. We're gonna call it the New York City area because I don't want to like piss people off by saying that I live in New York City when I live in Jersey City, even though it's all technically the same thing in my brain. I'm literally right across the river from New York, and prices and my experience and all of that is essentially the same as New York, and I can say that as someone that has actually lived in Manhattan before and just recently moved to Jersey City. And with all that being said, I am gonna give a few disclaimers before I get into the numbers of this video, and I'm gonna make it very short and sweet because I know that this intro is already probably long enough for a lot of you. So my first disclaimer is that yes, I do live in Jersey City, but it is right outside of New York City, like literally right across the Hudson River. So with that being said, honestly, the price of living in Jersey City and the experience of living in Jersey City is very, very similar to Manhattan. Things are just as expensive. The price of living is pretty similar, I would say. I think the only difference is that we do get a little bit more bang for our buck as far as living situation goes. So what I'm spending to live in this building would probably be just a 1-bedroom in Manhattan, whereas here we're getting a 1-bedroom and a den essentially, but our den is like the size of our 1-bedroom. So we're essentially getting like a 2-bedroom for the price of what we would spend on a 1-bedroom in Manhattan. And the other thing is that we don't pay the New York City tax anymore. We're just paying the New Jersey state tax to live in Jersey City. So we have a little bit more of income coming in, which is really nice. I'm not giving all of my money to New York anymore. Second disclaimer is that I will not be sharing like how much I make, my specific income. You guys can make an assumption based off of the expenses that I share, but I'm not gonna outright say how much I make because you just don't need to know. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. I'm working out in the living room on a little makeshift desk situation, so hopefully this works out. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So I did like a little breakdown in Excel, and honestly this looks pretty similar to my actual monthly budgeting spreadsheet, but I just made a new one for this video because I wanted to add some things into it, remove some things. You guys get the ordeal. So the top part of this budgeting spreadsheet situation are things that are reoccurring monthly payments, and then I just broke them into what I would pay in a week essentially. So for the top part, the rent part 1 and rent part 2 added up is what I spent on my half of the rent. I live with my boyfriend, so we split the rent right down the middle, and then I just break it up even more on my parts. So I'm paying half of my part of the rent for one paycheck, and then the other half of my part of the rent on my second paycheck for the month. So it breaks it up a little bit. So the first part is $10.52 a month, and it goes down to $263 per week. Rent part 2 is $10.52 per month, which goes down to $263 again per week. Next part, our electricity bill honestly kind of varies depending on the month, but my half is $62 per month estimated, which would be $15 a week. Lemonade is our renter's insurance. We're required by our building to have renter's insurance, so my half for the month is $11, which breaks down into $277 per week. Xfinity is our internet and cable, and this is my half monthly. And then break it down even further, I pay $371 per week. Storage unit, because we literally have, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, we have one closet in our entire apartment. So we do have to splurge on a storage unit, which is thankfully like kind of close to our apartment, so it's not that big of a deal, but we do pay for this monthly. So I pay $37.14 per month, which is $9.29 weekly. Streaming services, I don't split these because we just kind of have split up streaming services, like he pays for some and I pay for the other, and we just don't split it in half. So Paramount Plus is $374 per month, which is $94 weekly. Disney Plus is $7.46 per month, which is $1.87 weekly. Hulu is $8.52 per month, which is $2.13 weekly. And then moving down to the last section, this is kind of like random reoccurring expenses. Kindle Unlimited is $10.65 per month, which I'm honestly kind of salty because I'm pretty sure they just raised the price of Kindle Unlimited to like $15 or $20 a month. I need to check on that, but not too happy about it. And it's $2.66 weekly. ClassPass, this varies depending on the month because if you can change the plan in ClassPass, so you can pay for more credits per month or less credits per month. Last month, because I was traveling a lot, I paid for less credits, so it was only $20 a month, or $21 a month, and it was $5.25 weekly. Google storage is $2.17, it comes down to 54 cents per week, which is honestly not a bad deal. Apple storage is $9.99 a month, which comes down to $2.50 per week. And then Epidemic Sound, which is the website that I use for all of my non-copyrighted music for YouTube, is $15 a month, and that comes down to $3.75 weekly. So if we add up all of these expenses, I'm spending about $577.15 per week living in the New York City area. And that's just all my reoccurring expenses. So that's not groceries, that's not shopping, that's not coffee. That includes nothing else other than things that I am committed to on a weekly/monthly basis, which kind of hurts my heart a little bit, but it does include rent, so that's a huge chunk of that. All right, moving down to weekly expenses. These are all items that are not reoccurring. These are just things that I spent my money on throughout the week. A lot of them include groceries, personal items, socializing, and a lot of coffee. And I did color code it based on the categories. So purple is groceries, pink is like personal items / self-care, blue is transportation, green is eating out, and yellow is just miscellaneous / random. I'm not going to explain this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This didn't all get spent in one day. It was throughout the week, but as you can tell, we spent quite a bit of money because the sum at the end of it is $455. I'm going to blame a lot of that on the miscellaneous items because we spontaneously decided to go to a soccer game. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite parts of living in New York City is all of the random cool experiences that we get to do. So we could wake up on Saturday morning and decide we want to go to a Yankees game and just buy a Yankees ticket. We could wake up on Friday morning and decide that we want to go to a museum on Friday night for date night. I really enjoy the spontaneous, random activities that we do, so I never really mind spending money on those type of activities, if that makes any sense, even if they are a little bit more expensive. And then the Steve Madden purchase, I mentioned my graduation in the intro. I had to buy new heels for graduation because I didn't own any black heels that were appropriate to wear to graduation. So that was another huge expense for the week, but everything else was pretty normal as far as expenses go. A lot of money on food and a lot of money on socializing, but hey, that's New York for you. So yes, this is what I spent in a week. This is about typical of what I would spend in a week, and I decided to break this out even further for you guys just so you can get a good idea of how much you spend on different categories in the city. So groceries are the most expensive item. Typically we spend about $188 on groceries this week. There's 2 of us, keep in mind, so we spend a lot of money on food on a weekly basis, and it just is what it is. Self-care was $31, that's about average too. Eating out was $80. This is actually low, believe it or not, because I feel like typically you need to allot like $100 to $150 a week for eating out and bars and drinking and things of that sort. So this was actually low for the week. I would say it's typically higher. Random, which included the shoes and the soccer game. This is just also, I feel like, pretty typical because you want to shop, you want to do New York City activities, you want to socialize with friends, you want to go to events, you want to do things of that sort. So this was also pretty typical. Even though prior to this I was saying that those were my 2 most expensive items, I would say that I do typically spend about this much in this category per week. And then transportation was $5.50. This is also low. I feel like I use the subway more on the weekends than I do during the week, but I typically use the subway like more. I would say probably like $10 to $15, but this week I had only used it once, so it was only $5.50. So let's calculate the grand total of what I spend in a week. as someone that lives in New York because I'm scared of this. That is a scary number. On a weekly basis, living in Jersey City, living in New York City, living in the New York City area, I spend about $1,033.11. That is a lot of money. I'm actually kind of in shock because I didn't calculate that number prior to filming this, so adding up those two numbers is kind of a jump scare. And I would say this is probably about average, unfortunately. I mean, some weeks vary depending on if you're traveling or if you have more or less social plans, or if you're going out to eat more, if you're buying more groceries, if you're doing more activities. Like, the price of living in New York definitely can vary, and you can do New York a little bit cheaper. But I feel like in order to get the full New York City experience, this is the price that you pay, which is a jump scare. Fortunately, it is really high. I know a lot of people say, like, that's what I spend in a month living wherever you live, but like, also it's New York City, you know? It's a whole different world, whole different experience, whole different lifestyle living here. Yes, we could move somewhere else and spend way less money on every single category that I have on this spreadsheet, but you wouldn't get the same experience living somewhere else as you do here. And that's what I have to say on that. That is what I spend in a week as a 26-year-old living in the New York City area. I hope I didn't scare you guys as much as I scared myself with that final number there. It's so interesting because I do definitely budget and track every single thing that I spend money on, just to keep myself aware of what I'm spending my money on, but also keep myself honest and on track. But very rarely do I track it on a weekly basis, so it's just so interesting to see like what I'm actually spending in a week living where I live. I'll just leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. And with that, I am going to reevaluate my entire life based off of this spreadsheet. I wish I was kidding. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.